Hi, let's talk about your FashionSnoops Fiber Trend Project assignment. In Texels, we like to do a group assignment. It's a chance to get to know each other, even though it's an online class. So we're going to start by navigating to the library website, library.txstate.edu, clicking on Research Databases, and then going to FashionSnoops. Now, FashionSnoops does require you to use the proxy server to log in, right? And wow, this is a beautiful new page I haven't ever seen before. And if I click on login, then it takes me to the page I have normally seen. It didn't bring up the login dialog because I was just here this morning, but basically if you read the bar up there, it says fashionsnoops.com.libproxy.txt.edu. That means that it knows you're supposed to be there. So the login that you made over here is just your personal login so that you can use the create area to save and share files, which I'll show you in just a second. Now, the reason that you are using this product for this assignment is because we pay a bunch for it. This is a professional trend forecasting service that's used by companies all over the country. And so as long as we're paying to use it, it's a great thing for you to know how to use a trend forecasting service. So let's take a look here across the top. We can see that we have the different areas that they provide trends for. And your project can be used in almost every area, probably except for home, for beauty, and maybe for accessories. Although technically cotton, wool, or mohair could be used in bags or shoes. The culture area also explains sort of the larger sense of where they got the trends from, so that's also not an area that we would be using. Let's just go right into women. If we click on women here, we can see that across the top we have visionary, forecast, runway, trade show, retail. This is basically like a timeline. Visionary is the farthest out. Hot now is something that's happening right now. We want to go into forecast. Forecast is an area that has the most tools available. This is what most people come here to do, is forecast. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and have you guys forecast for we can try fall winter 2021. It may not have enough stuff available yet. So let's try spring summer 20. And so spring summer 20, we get a look here at this full menu that's typically available for each of the forecasts. This menu can be hidden by clicking on this, it's called a hamburger, the three little lines there hides the menu. When we click on it again, the menu shows. If the page were wider, it would actually, this hamburger area would be appearing sort of over here. The trend roadmap shows how all the different trends are connected. A seasonal webcast is a TV show they've put together for you. We want to go down to seasonal narratives. This shows you how all of the different trends are related to each other. And so we can see here that we have a trend called Scene, a trend called Babylon, a trend called Circuit, and a trend called Logam. There are always four different trends that are related to previous trends. Sometimes two trends combine and give birth to two different baby trends that are different than the two trends that combined. That's how fashion works, actually. People take ideas and mix and match. But we want you to use this particular service to choose the colors and images and everything else for your project, because your project needs to seem like something that a real designer would have done, and a real designer uses trend forecasting services. So as we look at these here in the narratives, we can see that each of them has a collage. In this case, they're dominated by a picture of a lady. But if we click on the collage, we can see what their reports are like. This is basically similar to what you will have on the first slide of your project. It's combined images that all capture the idea of the trend, including the colors, right? And these images have potentially been edited to include the colors. So this thunderstorm may not have originally been so pink. Then you can see here is mood. This could be the same as your lifestyle slide, right? If you think about it, you can see here this is a lady who likes to travel. She likes funky looking old pottery antiques, and there's also these statues, and so it has this feel of the ancient Middle East that they're trying to convey. Then we have the color area. This is super important for you. It's so important, I recommend that you even take a screenshot of it. This color area is important because these are the colors that you will be using in your PowerPoint. So if you end up choosing this as a Babylon as a trend for yourself, then you will use some of these colors. Don't use them all, just use enough of them that it is tied to the trend. Let me show you a nifty trick. If you click on select color system and select RGB, you now have the RGB numbers, and believe it or not, you can use those numbers in the color chooser in PowerPoint to choose that exact color. So if you just write those three colors down, then when you dial those three colors again, the first one is the R, the second one is the G, the third one is the B. When you're looking for the colors in PowerPoint, you'll be able to put those three numbers in again, and you'll get this exact color. So you'll want to pick some colors that go with your trend, and then here we have a style guide that is, you could view this as again, sort of another version of what one of your pages might be like. In this case, you'll notice that we have the images, they name them. You can just literally have the images of what people are wearing to fit with your trend. And it gives you some ideas of some other images that you could include in your lifestyle slide, for example. There's also this word bank, which can help you in doing some searches for more images. And then here again, some pictures of the inspiration for the trend. Now we get to a really important part, which is the materials. And you can see that this particular trend would be good for cotton, not as much for wool. And as you hover over it, you can see even the names of the designers, Stuckey Textile or Aventix, so the companies that they got this fabric from. And believe it or not, Econ, which is selling fabric, put together a trend forecast presentation like the one that you're putting together to convince people that their fabric is part of this upcoming trend. Here we have the design details, which can show you a little more information about what you're looking for. Patterns and graphics, again, is something to consider including in your slide. See how this includes some of the colors, right? And then they get on to artwork that could be used to design prints. And let's see, we want to go down to key items. So here is where you will be thinking about which three designs do we want to include in our trend. You'll notice that if you hover over them, the name of the designer, Joanna Ortiz or Les Chopins, appears down at the bottom, and you can actually download this image. Now, they have shown you some, right? But if we go in, let's say we're doing cotton and we want to do sort of a skirt trend, if I click on wrap skirt, then I might see several different designers. And in fact, you can just straight up download these images to use them in your presentation. Of course, you're going to want to think about how you make it all a cohesive whole. And I'm not sure that this particular red periwinkle and black dress is going to appear in the same trend presentation as this awake dress, right? But this Balmain and this Edlienne, those might occur together. They have sort of similar color and feel. Then on the other hand, this Todd's trend right here, right? You might have three different designs by Todd's, or you might integrate Todd's and Awake, or you might integrate the Todd's and the Dion Lee, which is down here. And it says click on the designer name for full show coverage. And so let's see if that actually works. It's supposed to work. And not working for me, FashionSnoops. So, but at least here you can see where I can actually download the image right there, and I can choose the X's and I can save them to my let's see, so total of 18 images. I can select them all. I can save them to my shared area, and I can print them, add them to my image bank as I just right there. I can put them in a folder and then share the folder with somebody, right? And so let's say that I wanted to do a trend that was these sort of beigey colors. Probably want to pop back up to the top here and just double check that I'm seeing that color. But oh yeah, there it is, a whole bunch of beiges right there. And I'll want to maybe an accent color, so I can again go down and look at the items I've chosen and find the accent color. But you can see here that all here in this, just in this one report, which is called the seasonal narrative for a specific trend, I can pull together everything that I need for the project. Now for the mood board, you'll have to go and find your own images, but it's pretty straightforward to do Google searches for some pictures, and they will often in the report give you an idea where they're getting some of these images from, right? So this, for example, says the Petra is the site, so you could Google for Petra and find them. Here is a photographer. You could Google for some of those photographers' pictures and find them. Now that was one. Let's go look at a men's trend and do the same thing. So here I'm going to click on forecast, and then I'm going to click on, let's see here, I'm going to show you what fall winter 2021 is like. It doesn't have quite as much information in it yet. If I click on seasonal narrative, then you can see that I have a great one, outre, which some people might like for a wool trend. And you can see here it does have materials, it does have key items, it may or may not have runway pictures yet, but we're getting close, right? So here is an influencer runway. There's something from this year that they think is projecting the trend. So Pronounce was from runway 1920. And we have this name of a designer that you can go and look for some of his images if you wanted. But ooh, this is great for a wool or mohair trend, right? And here we can see this was a Scali, and there we go. There we go. Now I can get all his pictures. So I guess it just works in certain ones. So here we have Sky's trends images, and so I could look all the way through this and find any of his fun sweaters, right? And or wool items, and click on them and save them or download them right away to use again. Right, so that's when I clicked on that one right there. Maybe I want to do a Jamie Wei Huang and see what else he has. Oh yeah, he's got, ooh, that's a fun sweater right there. That might work for a trend. I want to double check. I've got sort of a coral, cobalt, and blue. Let's go back up and look at the colors for this trend just to make sure. Yep, we've got this sort of cobalty, sort of this coral, and this sort of flesh color. And you notice this picture right here, it did not have pink seats in this cafeteria, peeps. It did not have green tables. They edited this picture. They added yellow on that column and purple on this column here to make it look like this trend. That's something you'll learn in Intro to Merchandising Tech. Again, I can pick RGB and see which of these the codes for these colors so that I can then use them exactly in my PowerPoint. So your PowerPoint is basically an approximation of this particular report, type of report, and what would actually happen on a big square mood board. On a big square mood board, you would have a collage like this. You'd have some samples, right? So let's see here. Actually, the mood board is something that might look like this, right? In our case, we're doing something a little bit less wordy, something more visual. But each of these, as you can see, is actually a separate slide, right? And you have images of your designs, plus of course your two slides about with your references. So the one slide that actually has your references, the slide that is about the production in Texas, and a third slide that is your selling statement, so explaining to people why this fiber is good for your trend. So if you were using this trend here and it's meant to be kind of it says right here, quirky, creative, and cool craft, right? So you might say mohair has the brilliant flexibility required for quirky creatives in order to create their cool crafts, right? So, well, no, we're not doing crafts. In order to So mohair has the flexibility desired by quirky creatives uh, who are seeking the height of craft. Right, so that's not crafts, but craft, the verb. Okay, so I hope that helped as a quick little tour for how to use Fashion Snoops for this particular assignment. You see how it's just much less making stuff up wholesale and more looking through reports for the information that you need to pull together a trend that looks professional. You know why it looks professional? Because this right here is how professionals actually do it.